Hi guys, it's Mrs. Jackson. Wanted to create a quick video to go with today's lesson. Today you're going to focus on classifying your compound. We've looked at 4 different compound types. We've looked at ionic compounds. We have looked at hydrated compounds. We've looked at nonmetal or molecular covalent compounds, and we've looked at acidic compounds or acids. So tomorrow we're going to start naming and writing formulas for all these compounds, but they will be mixed together instead of looking at just one at a time. So in order to be able to write the correct formula or name the formula correctly, you're going to have to use the right set of rules. And in order to know which set of rules you need, the first thing you have to do is identify what kind of compound you're looking at. Okay, it can look a little overwhelming, but it actually is a very simple process. What we're looking at today is the flow chart. It's on the back of the cheat sheet that you received in class. It's also posted in Schoology in case you were absent that day or have misplaced yours. So have that handout ready to use. This flow chart is on the back of it. And all you need to do is follow these steps. And it really all starts with this question right here at the top. What is the first element in my compound? So this is the very first thing that you need to look at. What kind of compound am I working with? If you look at your compound and the first element you see is a metal, you know you are either going to have an ionic compound or you're going to have a hydrated compound. Hydrates are really easy to find because they've got water written in the formula. Remember, it was always .H2O, and you had some sort of number in front of the water. So those are easy to find. I would locate those first and identify them first. If you see water, note it as a hydrate. Okay, if you don't have the dot water at the end of your compound, but it does start with a metal, then you're working with a regular ionic compound. To name that compound correctly, you're going to go back and utilize the rules that we've worked with for several days. If you have an alkali metal or an alkaline earth metal, you don't need a Roman numeral, so you're just going to name the ions that you have. If you have a transition metal, right, those usually need a Roman numeral. You're going to check your ion page to see how many different ions for that element exist, and if there's more than one ion in existence or in that box on your table, then you're going to need to use Roman numerals. That's where you're going to uncross those subscripts and double check the charge and use the Roman numerals to write down what the charge of the ion was. Remember, the Roman numeral is the charge of the ion. If you look at your compound and the first element that is listed is a nonmetal, right, because some of our compounds have only nonmetals, that's going to be a molecular or covalent compound. The rules that we use for naming covalent and molecular compounds are using those prefixes to indicate how many atoms of each type there are. Okay, remember that we only use mono with oxygen, and only if it's listed second. We never start a compound with mono. Remember that we don't use charges, we don't crisscross. All we do is write the formula using the prefixes to tell how many atoms of each element there are. Okay, the last kind of compound that we learned how to name were the ones that began with hydrogen, and those are all of our acids. When you're naming an acid, it all has to do with oxygen. If it has oxygen, you have to find the anion ending. If it ends with 8, you change it to an ic acid. If the anion has oxygen but ends in ite, that changes to the us ending. If you have an acid and there is no oxygen present, those are the ones we use hydro. No oxygen means it gets hydro in the front and it changes to ic at the end of the name. So, now that you've finished your video, go into Schoology and complete the sorting activity, identifying which formulas are ionic compounds, which ones are hydrated compounds, which ones are nonmetal or molecular covalent, and which ones are acid. Don't forget to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.